Back in 2008, I was a student planning to go to university. I needed some extracurricular stuff that I could put on my entry application. As most UK students know, one of the best ones to have on there is the Duke of Edinburgh Award. As part of this award, you have to embark on an orienteering expedition. Basically, a long trek through woodland and rural villages, following nothing but a paper map and a compass. No GPS allowed. It's a teamwork experience. And you can camp and overcome hurdles together, etc. Anyway, I was out of shape at the time, so my uncle volunteered to take me out to the middle of nowhere to get some idea of what orienteering was actually like. We didn't stay out overnight like what I would have done during the real thing, but we hiked maybe, 10 miles through the woods and a small village in a pretty abysmal weather. By the end of the journey, we were soaked to the bone, absolutely drenched, pretty miserable. Looking forwards to getting back to the car and heading home. For the last part of the journey, we were on a dirt trail, heading uphill with bushes and trees either side. We were marching onward in silence at this point when, all of a sudden, there was a rustling in the foliage on our left. From behind a large bush stepped out an old man in a black suit with a red bow tie and dress shoes. He looked like late 70s, 80s maybe. Very pale, liver spots dotting his face, grey-white comb over. I was instantly weirded out. Who dresses like that to go into the woods? The instant thought, seeing a guy his age out in those clothes in that weather, this guy has obviously lost his marbles. There was something else, though, that took me an extra moment to notice, but it puzzled me. This guy was dry as a bone. He didn't even have any mud on his shoes. We stopped in our tracks and just stared at the man for a moment, who appeared to be as frozen and shocked at seeing us. My uncle made the first move, taking a step towards him, asking him if he was all right. The old man just continued to stare for a moment, not even twitching, and then suddenly became very animated, like he suddenly snapped out of a trance. He started flailing his arms about wildly, saying something awful had happened, that a good friend of his needed help. He began walking backwards into the woods, motioning for us to come and follow him, which we did. We started off at a brisk walk, then escalated to running as we struggled to keep up with the old man. After maybe, a minute, he disappeared ahead of us, but we could hear him, so we continued to follow the noise until we reached this huge slope. We stopped at the edge, looked down to see the old man standing at the bottom, motioning for us to come down, pleading with us to follow him. I remember looking down. The slope was probably 40 degrees, spanned perhaps 50 feet or more, slick as ice with mud and rain. It looked like an accident waiting to happen, especially given that there were no shrubs or roots to hold on to or anything. I remember looking down, the old man on the other side of that slope, and wondering how the heck did he cross so quickly, so cleanly. I mean, at that distance, it's hard to see fine details clearly, but I swear, he still did not appear to be wet or muddy at all. Me and my uncle looked at each other, and I saw that he was getting as weirded out as I was. Despite my feelings, I made a step towards the edge and was going to try and make my way down when my uncle grabbed me firmly by the arm, pulled me back. Under his breath, he said something's wrong here, something's off. So we took a few steps back from the edge at this point, and the old man at the bottom started to get irate. He began pleading with us again to come down the slope, telling us he needed our help. His friend was in trouble. My uncle shouted down to the old man that we'll head back to our car and call the emergency services for him, that professional help would soon be on its way, that they would have all the tools and equipment they needed to help him, etc., etc. The old man, he suddenly got furious, began jumping up and down, demanding that we come down the slope right now, or there would be hell to pay. His voice had changed drastically. He was practically growling his words, his hands bunched into fists, pounding his knees like an angry toddler throwing a tantrum. I've never seen a grown adult fly into such a rage in my life. His eyes, they looked like they were on the verge of bursting out of their sockets. His skin had gone from pale to red in almost an instant. We began to hurriedly make our way back the way we came. His demands, his threats, getting less audible as we got closer to the trail. Once on the trail, we practically power marched the remaining quarter mile or so back to the car. All the while, my uncle's on his phone to the emergency services, explaining to them that there was possibly a mentally ill old man wandering the trail in this weather. We were ordered to get to our car and await the police, so we could show them where we had encountered him. About an hour later, we met 4 officers, 2 of whom had dogs with them and packs of supplies like first aid, emergency blankets, etc. We led them to the exact spot and then pointed to 2 officers with the dogs in the direction he had led us through the bushes. The search lasted all weekend, but there was no trace of the old man. Officers said the only trail they could pick up had been mine and my uncle's. They didn't find any footprints or anything belonging to the old man that we encountered. One of the weirdest experiences I've had to date.